So, welcome all and happy Darshan Week. We are happy to have you all joining us today for this fifth talk in our series on an integral approach to managing stress and building resilience. And of course, we are always honored to host our colleagues from Asheville, North Carolina, Dr. Don Solomon and Jan Maslow. So we welcome you, Don and Jan, and we also look forward to seeing you later this afternoon at our Darshan gathering here at La Grasse. Today, Don and Jan will be sharing their in-depth research and various practices that they've designed in this area of effortless sleep. Don says, we live in an amazing time in which neuroscientists have identified the brain mechanisms that accompany tense, strained effort. And they've identified simple means of helping us effortlessly shift our brain functioning. That was not too effortlessly. Brain functioning into a more effortless, calm, and joyful state of consciousness. So in this presentation, Don and Jan will take us from practices for developing effortless sleep to those fostering effortless living in general. Short introduction to our two speakers. Dr. Solomon worked as a professional pianist and composer in the 1970s and 80s in New York City, performing with dancers, actors, and fellow musicians, as well as composing for theater, dance, and movies. He then worked as a clinical psychologist for over 25 years, conducting research on lucid dreams and the use of mindfulness in the treatment of pain. Over the course of several decades, he has studied and practiced meditative and contemplative methods for various traditions, and with his wife Jan, has written a book on the yoga psychology of Sri Aurobindo and created several online courses, which you'll be hearing about shortly. Of course, we also welcome Jan, who has always been interested, she says, in exploring ways of fulfilling our human potential for love, joy, creativity, and deep connection with others. She has studied medicine, social work, and organizational psychology at the graduate level. During the 1990s, Jan was the training coordinator for the Federal Bankruptcy Court in Lower Manhattan, where her vision was to create a rich learning environment in which staff could grow not only in specific job-related skills, but in their interpersonal and intrapersonal skills as well. She incorporated mindfulness and dialogue practices to help create a more cohesive, collaborative, and effective workplace. So together with Don, Jan has taught and led classes and workshops applying mindfulness and neuroscience to stress release, pain relief, and overall well-being. And most recently, they've created an online course that they'll be announcing in the fall on effortless sleep, which again, they will also hopefully share a bit with us today. As always, we will have a period towards the end for Q&A, so put any questions you might have in the Q&A box. And again, it is my great honor to now hand it over to Don and Jan.
Thank you so much, Rade. Thanks to both of you, Vladimir and Rade, and thanks to La Grasse Center in general for honoring us with this opportunity to share our experience and understanding of sleep with you. So I'd like to start with a question. What is the secret? The secret of falling asleep. It's two words. Okay. Now, before I tell you, the secret of falling asleep is really the same as the secret of meditation. And it's a secret of the integral yoga. So let me ask one more question before I tell you the secret. I bet everyone here knows if you had to choose one word to describe the essence of the practice of integral yoga, that word is surrender, right? That's one word. Mother has sometimes three words, remember and offer, but one word is surrender, which is very much about the secret of sleep. The secret of effortless sleep is letting go. I want to say it again because this is really the most important thing I'll say in the whole presentation. The secret of effortless sleep is letting go. Letting go of what? Letting go of control. Now, it's interesting. There's a non-dual spiritual teacher, Adyashanti, who expresses this beautifully. He encourages people to fall into meditation the way you fall into sleep. So then you realize we tend to think of meditation or even mindfulness as something we do. And actually, the effortless secret of mindfulness and meditation is letting go. Now, I said it was letting go of control. The neuroscientists have identified several different brain modes that pretty much characterize our waking state. And there's some technical terms, but we use our own terms for it in our course. One is mind wandering mode. Now, if you pay attention right now, you will most likely notice, I can say this with almost 99% confidence, that in some part of the back of your mind, there's some part of the thought process wondering, what are they going to say? What's going to happen? What will I have for lunch? That's about the future. And some part saying, oh, I forgot to do this, or I needed to do that. And some part about the past. So we live through the day with this mind wandering mode going on much, if not most of the time. Now, the second mode we all know very well. You're trying to listen here, and you may find it's a little bit of control. I really want to sleep better, so I'm going to really focus and focus hard, right? So now you've got a battle going on. Or you may be with a friend and you're going through a rough time and they're talking, you realize, oh, you've missed the last half a minute, right? People are nodding in familiarity. Or you're at work and you really do not want to be writing that paper or giving the presentation or working on the computer. You want to be out on the beach. And so all day long, you're both at work and at the beach. So our days become this struggle between two modes, out of control mind wandering and attempts to control the mind wandering. And then at night, as we all know, we have a third mode. Again, there's a technical name, but we call it escape mode. Some of these means of escape are rather innocent. We eat too much, maybe doom scroll too many videos. Some of them a little bit less innocent, too many drugs or other things I won't mention. You all know what I'm talking about. Okay, so there's an alternative. The good news is there's an alternative to control mode, and that's experiential mode. Before I say what that is, experiential mode, I want to say, what is the essence of control mode? Notice when I talk to you about being out of control, mind wandering, it goes to the past, it goes to the future, and very rarely does mind wandering involve being present, being fully present. And if you are present, it's usually obsessing about why this is bad, why things should get better in the future, or how they were better in the past. So we're still never fully present. There's a wonderful neuroscientist, Dr. Amishi Jha, who studies attention, and she has a short phrase that's the secret of letting go of story mode. So let me review. The secret of sleep, like meditation and integral yoga, is letting go of control. We get lost in either mind wandering, trying to control it, or trying to escape from it. And now Dr. Jha comes along and says, here's the secret. Drop the story and come to your senses. What are stories made up of? Stories are made up of a treadmill that we're on much of our day, from past to present to future. And it's almost always this kind of tense, anxious, either excited tense, like, I've got to make this vacation work. I'm going to work really hard to have fun. Or it's this very tense, anxious, nervous, or angry thing. I got to get that guy. I got to get revenge on whoever hurt me or whatever. We're acknowledging all of us have these little dark spots deep in our subconscious. Is everyone here willing to acknowledge that? Okay. This is why the story mode is so tension inducing. And it's possible to drop the story very fast. And there's a number of ways to do it. Most meditation techniques, many of them are really about interrupting that story mode. And if you think about it for a moment, most or many meditation practices start with coming to your senses. Okay, before I describe much more, let's do it. Okay, So notice right now, just see if you can notice. I don't know, some of you may not have had much experience looking at your mind, but I think everyone can see something in your mind right now is dwelling on the past or dwelling on the future. Now watch, notice what happens. So I'd like to invite you at this moment, without making any effort, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to invite you to notice something, and you'll see you don't need to make any effort to bring your attention to it. Notice right now any sounds in your environment. Keep your eyes open. We're not going to drop off into meditation now. Just notice sounds. Now notice you're not making an effort to hear sounds. We're definitely not making an effort to relax. We're not making an effort to do anything. If your mind is wandering, just very gently, I'll invite you, notice sounds. Notice how easy it is to notice sounds. No need to try anything. Sounds are wonderful because they have an alive, changing quality, and the mind loves to dwell on things that change, but it doesn't need to take you into the future. It doesn't need to bring you back. There's no story involved. Just the feeling of the energy, the aliveness of sounds. Now, keeping your eyes open, notice colors in your environment. And once again, as you look around, do you need to make an effort to name this? You just see, oh, there's brown, there's something bluish, there's something yellow, and just notice the colors. Now let's add one more thing. Let's turn to another sensation. Notice as you're breathing that there's a sensation of air moving in and out of the nostrils. You may notice also your belly moves slightly as you breathe in and out. And again, you don't need to try to focus. We're just very playfully, like a little child. Oh, that feeling of air through my nostrils. Oh, my belly's moving. How wonderful. And this childlike delight in experience is a wonderful way to drop the story and really get into your present moment experience. Now let's invite these together and see if you can notice that you may start trying to make an effort. I'm going to invite you to notice sights and sounds and body sensations. Okay, so stay with your belly movement for a moment. And while you notice the belly movement, just notice there's sounds. And if you don't notice them at the same time or it's confusing, just notice I'm feeling a little confused right now, and that's okay. Everything in experiential mode is okay. We're moving towards samatha, equanimity. This is the yogic side of it, but we don't mention that in our course, which is for mainstream folks. But you can realize these are powerful, powerful foundations for yoga, for deep yoga. So you're feeling the belly, you're aware of sounds, and you can be aware of colors too. And it may come in and out, colors, sounds, movement of the belly. So as you're staying in experiential mode, you can actually invite yourself to return to experiential mode as Jan starts talking soon. I'll just say story mode is the glue that holds together our ordinary waking state. Since our ordinary waking state consists so much of this battle of control and out of control, this story, negative and positive, and switching back and forth tends to keep us glued to that treadmill of, it's the treadmill of karma, really. Letting go of the fruits of karma, the results, is very much about coming into what is ultimately a timeless moment, and we can discuss that later if you have questions about that. Again, we don't discuss that too much. That's a more yogic thing, but just coming into the moment, present sensory experience. This is like the solvent. When you lie down, This is a powerful, just as story mode is the glue that holds together the waking state, when you lie down and shift into experiential mode, it's like a solvent that dissolves or has the potential to dissolve the waking state, allowing the natural capacity of the brain to shift from the waking state into the sleeping state, which is definitely a state of consciousness, though very different from the waking. So there's three ways that scientists have found to be very effective for shifting to experiential mode and ultimately to effortless sleep. And Jan's going to talk to you and give you an overview of these three modes now.
Yeah. The three modes are known as CBTI, effortless mindfulness, and yoga nidra. CBTI is short for cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia. And as the name describes, it has some cognitive techniques which are about correcting mistaken beliefs that people have about sleep that makes them nervous that they're not doing it right and helps to keep them awake, keeps them from falling asleep. But mainly CBTI is a behavioral technique. And the purpose of it is to increase our natural sleep drive. So we have a natural sleep drive, just like we have a natural hunger drive and a natural all kinds of drives that are mediated by hormones and neurotransmitters that increase our drive so that we are increasingly sleepy, and so that sleep is a very natural, effortless process. The problem is we interfere with that natural cycle in all kinds of ways. I mean, just modern civilization with electric lights and all of our computer addictions and things like that, our addiction to activity, we don't tend to harmonize with our natural cycle. One of the main ways that people who have trouble with sleep get out of balance is that they think that if they're not getting enough sleep, if they just give themselves more time in bed, so if they're getting like 5 hours of sleep, they may give themselves 7 or 8 or even 9 hours in bed, hoping that that extra time in bed will result in more sleep. But the problem is it's exactly the opposite. Spending that much time in bed decreases our sleep drive and makes it harder to fall asleep. So one of the main behavioral changes with CBTI is to decrease that time spent in bed that we're not asleep. So really limiting the bed to sleep. And it means getting out of bed in the middle of the night if you're not asleep, if you're awake for more than 20 minutes and fretting about being awake. And it means going to bed late enough so that you're only in bed maybe half an hour or an hour more than the time you actually sleep on average. Now, this process is actually very effective. It's a little difficult to do because you can be tired in the process for a couple of weeks. I wouldn't say it's very difficult to do. It's a little challenging to do. But it actually cures completely 50% of the cases of insomnia, and it improves significantly another 20 to 30%. It is currently the #1 treatment recommended for insomnia by doctors and anybody. So you'd kind of hope that the #1 treatment would be a little more than 50% effective for a complete cure. So they looked into what was keeping it from being more effective for more people. And big surprise, it turned out that the reason was people approached it in control mode. They brought that tension about doing it right, getting results, worrying about whether it was going to work, to the process of CBTI, and that made it less effective. So, I don't know, about 30 years ago, I think, they started looking into combining CBTI with mindfulness, which is really basically being in experiential mode. It's defined as being in the present moment with an attitude of relaxation, non-judgmentalness, and non-reactivity. But the interesting thing was that improved CBTI's effectiveness a little bit, but they found that people brought this control mode, which is such a lifelong habit, even to the practice of mindfulness. And so mindfulness became, for a lot of people, trying to control the attention, like keep the attention focused on the breath or on the sensations or whatever their chosen object was. And that made it not so relaxing, not so much fun, and less effective than it could be. So within the mindfulness movement, there arose a new movement, which was called effortless mindfulness, which is actually what mindfulness was intended to be to begin with. But they wanted to address that tendency to control. And so there's a lot of people teaching that now. People like Dan Siegel, a psychiatrist, Les Femi, Locke Kelly actually calls it effortless mindfulness. Adyashanti calls it natural meditation. But it is this same approach, which is not about focusing your attention on the content of experience, but rather relaxing and stepping back into what is always present behind the content, into that background of calm, quiet awareness that Don was referring to earlier in the exercise, that just automatically, effortlessly notices our experience. And so when effortlessness was brought into the teaching of mindfulness and combined with CBTI, it became even more effective. Now, the third thing that has been used to help with sleep is yoga nidra. It's also known as yogic sleep. And scientists, neuroscientists, like to call it non-sleep deep rest. But it's the same thing. And yoga nidra, well, actually, let me back up for a minute. The way we help people to shift into experiential mode, the way we teach effortless mindfulness, is through exercises that help people understand how to make that shift, how to step back from the content into the context of experience. And also through constant reminders from day one through the entire course, because it is such a lifelong, stubborn habit to be in control mode. We are always reminding people to approach everything in the course, including all the elements of CBTI, in a more relaxed, playful way, doing it for the fun of it and not worrying about results, and just sort of trusting that things will evolve if we just give it our care and attention. So yoga nidra, as you know, is an ancient practice, and yogis have validated it for thousands of years, but neuroscientists are now actually seeing the value of it as well. And it's a series of practices that just help to deepen that sense of letting go, of relaxation. And the thing that it makes possible in particular is the capacity to remain conscious as you go from the waking state into sleep. And there are several ways that we do that in the course. There's two main exercises that we use for that. One is related to focusing on specific sequential points in the body, and the other is using music, specially composed by Don for sleep. And he's going to tell you about that in a minute. But the idea of focusing on sequential points in the body is that the point, and this is not a a tense trying to focus on the point. It's just a relaxed, bringing the attention to the point and just feeling your way into what's there, just being present with what is there in the point in a, a deepening, relaxed way. And what it does is it provides enough of an anchor for the attention so that you can still relax into that background, letting go, but at the same time have just enough wakefulness to notice, to be aware of when you shift from wakefulness into sleep. And the value of that is that it opens the door to all kinds of exploration of deeper yogic sleep and different realms of consciousness, really, which is not in the scope of the course, but it is a gateway into that realm of exploration. So, Don, you want to tell them about the music?
Yeah, I want to say one more thing about a personal thing about the sequence. I learned an exercise called 61 points. It's almost 40 years ago at the Himalayan Institute in Pennsylvania, a yogic center. And what I noticed over the months as I was doing it, that it goes through your upper body, lower body, and back up to the top. That almost inevitably, somewhere around my left knee, which is about point like 40, I noticed that the shift in consciousness, my thoughts became more dreamlike, my body was starting to dissolve, and I began to see dreamlike images. And in fact, nowadays, when they're exploring conscious dreaming and yogic, lucid, conscious dreaming, they're actually combining nowadays. The scientists are getting this. 61 points, which we teach in our course, is one of the most widespread practices for becoming, as Mother Sri Aurobindo often said, conscious of your nights. So that's a deeper yogic thing. I just want to mention that. So music, yeah. So I've been composing music to facilitate deeper sleep and waking dreams for many decades. You're going to hear it in a moment. I'm going to describe it a little bit. It will be much more effective when you hear it, but it generally uses a drone, which is a continuous, slightly changing sound, very much like the tambura in classical Indian music. It's the sound, it represents the sound of the Om underlying all of creation. Again, we don't go into that in our course, just letting you folks know. I actually noticed Rade nodding when I was talking about how sounds are changing, but they keep you in the present. That's exactly the function of a drone. It facilitates this effortless movement into deep relaxation. Rather than trying to relax, you open to the feeling of the music and it just begins to flow through your body. The other thing is, and you may notice this, it generally takes some practice, but you might notice in a moment as we listen to the Yoga Nidra with Jan's voice and my music, you may notice as you're breathing, as you're listening, as you're letting go, if you feel the music in your body, it just starts to dissolve the sense of solidity. So rather than an arm, this literally becomes the sensation with your eyes closed becomes moving energy. The same, your head, your torso, your legs begin to dissolve. And that feeling of dissolving, when you learn to pay attention of the transition from waking to dreaming, which is one of the things I've taught in my research and done, that's exactly the feeling you have. Many people describe it, the sense of this energy enlivening and moving you into a dream state. So this is just for the purpose of sleep. Even if people come to the course now aren't interested in anything but like, Lord, help me, I need to sleep more. If that's your main interest, this is a really powerful means of helping you glide into, let go of control, right? Letting go of control, along with the CBTI, which provides the stability, the physical stability to get your sleep drive stronger, along with effortless mindfulness, which really helps you, teach you to let go of control. This music and guidance of Yoga Nidra literally teaches you how to let go and allow those transitions into sleep to occur.
Yeah, the audio you're going to hear is designed to be listened to through headphones, so it's not going to be quite as effective as it would be if you were listening to it through headphones. And
two more things. Yeah. At one point we mentioned something called ocean breathing. If you know yoga, that's actually ujjayi breathing. If you don't, just ignore it. Don't worry about it.
Just breathe.
And the third thing is, when we do the yoga nidra for our students, we have long breaks, like 2, 3, 4 minutes. And we didn't want to make it that long. So I edited it down so the breaks were about half a minute. So when Jan says, and now be with your breathing for 2 or 3 minutes, just, I don't want anyone complaining, wait, I was cheated. That was only 30 seconds. Okay, so I'm going to share screen now. And I'm going to get the music. And if you have headphones, you can put them on. If not, just enjoy listening. Okay, got the share. And here we go.
Relax into a comfortable position, sitting up or lying down. Inhaling naturally, exhaling naturally, without any effort. Now allow yourself to settle into the present moment, just being here with the natural flow of your breath, calmly, fully drinking in your experience of the moment. Just being intimately present with whatever sounds, sensations, whatever thought or emotional energies are moving through your awareness in this moment. Widening your attention, opening into a spaciousness that is large enough for all things to simply be as they are. Now with a gentle ocean breath, inhale, imagine hearing the sound ooh as you inhale and ah as you exhale. Inhaling ooh and exhaling ah. Do this for a minute or so in your own rhythm. Now gently bring your attention to the base of your spine, just calmly, neutrally, noticing whatever you're experiencing there. And now very gently, feel the music vibrating at the base of your spine. With a gentle ocean breath, inhale, drawing the breath up your spine to the top of your head. Hold for a second, and exhale, letting the breath flow back down the spine. Inhaling up the spine, and exhaling down the spine. Now continue on your own for several minutes, breathing up and down the spine, and effortlessly feeling the music vibrating in your body. Now let go of any effort, let go of ocean breathing, and just feel the natural, spontaneous flow of your breath. Just being present with the fullness of your experience, whatever it may be, letting go of any concern, judgment, or any ideas about what you should or shouldn't be experiencing. Continue being present with your breathing and the fullness of your experience for another few minutes. Now bring your attention into your head and just notice whatever you experience there without thinking about it or trying to change it. And now let your attention expand outward into the space surrounding your head. Now gently shift your attention into your chest and just notice whatever you experience there without thinking about or trying to change it. Let your attention expand into the front of the chest, to the left and right of the chest, and into the space behind the chest. Now let your attention move into your belly and notice whatever you experience there without thinking about or trying to change it. And now let your attention gently expand into the space in front of the belly, to the left and the right of the belly, and into the space behind the belly. And now just relax into the spaciousness surrounding your whole body.
And now, before we move into questions and answers, I'd like to make a very simple observation connecting us to indical yoga. In that last part of the practice, we're surrendered into experiential mode, letting go of everything in the body and the mind, and opening to spaciousness. I was just noting to Jan last night, there's a mantra that Sri Aurobindo gave to a student, and it starts, "Mother, be with me always. Envelop me with your presence." And I was saying that this little intention to open to the present, let go of the story, and open to spaciousness, which widens our attention, which shifts our brain out of control mode, is a wonderful way to invite our awareness of Mother's infinite eternal presence always around us. And I particularly was moved by those words, envelop. Envelop us with your presence, because you can feel, even if your heart is not fully open in the moment, when you open to that sense of spaciousness around you, around the head, the torso, chest, and then from there, from that open, surrendered place, say, envelop me with your presence. Now, I find that her presence, I'm more, it's there, of course, infinitely powerfully all the time, but I realize that when there's that effortless opening, dropping the story, letting go of control, and opening of attention to everything around us in the timeless moment, that the receptivity to her enveloping presence can be so much more powerful. So we did title this From Effortless Sleep to Yogic Sleep. So I wanted to bring in at the end this really powerful sense that everything we're teaching, everything without exception, that we're teaching in a secular language is all very, very, very easily joined to the deeper yogic reality of Mother and Sri Aurobindo's timeless and time-filled Shakti and peace and delight and love and wisdom and infinitely more. So, yeah. So thank you. And we will delight in any questions you have.
Thank you so much. It was, yes, it was very pleasant state from which is also pleasantly to come out, interestingly. It wasn't that a drowsy state from which you don't want to come out.
Right. Good. That's very glad to hear. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very nice music and voice, this soothing voice. Yes. It's really a gift, truly speaking.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We're glad. We enjoy making them too. Yeah.
So it's not totally a sleep. It's a kind of a state, which is like a sleep because you rest, yes?
Right.
So
Right.
control equals kind of being mentally engaged, yes? And when
Well, we can learn, this is harder, and Vladimir, actually, you've taught this, that we can learn to be mentally engaged in a non-controlling, intuitive way. But given our civilization, or in a way we're schooled, it takes more, I don't want to say effort, it takes more letting go of being lost in an analytical tension to being open and allowing the mind to deepen. I do want to say one thing specific about coming out of it. So scientists have beautifully identified stages of sleep. There's four stages, including dreaming, but there's basically three. And the first one is very interesting. When people are woken from stage one sleep, when the beta waves, fast beta waves, slow down into alpha waves, they will almost always say, really? I was asleep? I felt like I was awake. They may even be aware of thoughts. And we have a lesson on sleep stages, and we often say, for a practical purpose, the yoga nidra is one of the best ways, as I hinted earlier, of becoming aware of stage one sleep. And a few weeks ago, I was so delighted. One of our students wrote and said, I think I've got it. I think I got it. And she described what it was. I said, that's it. That you've described perfectly stage one sleep. And once you get a feeling, not only for what stage one sleep is, but how to let go into it, you've really mastered the secret of effortless sleep. Because if you're in stage one sleep and you're aware of it, there's very, very little you need to do but let go a little bit more, and you will just drift off effortlessly into stage two sleep. So Vladimir, you're right. That you kind of verified our aim is not to get people in a kind of a drowsy state, but a kind of alert, effortless state. So if you need to come out of it, you're still awake, because you don't want to get people to sleep well and wake up in the morning saying, oh my God, I slept well, but I feel awful. So that kind of bringing a deeper consciousness, which it is, we don't use that phrase again, that scares some people who are going to be referred by doctors, say, but getting into that deeper consciousness, that deeper effortless relaxation allows you to have deeper restorative sleep, which means you're going to be spending longer in stage 3 sleep, which, for example, as people get older, they tend to have less stage 3 sleep. But we know through our research, when people learn effortless mindfulness and they get their sleep schedule and sleep drive better, and they learn yoga nidra, you can be 100 years old and still have beautiful, rich, deep restorative stage 3 sleep. And I can say, I did a sleep study just to check for sleep apnea, and they said, a few weeks ago, they said, wow, you got so much stage 3 sleep. So I can personally say, yeah. And you're hooked up with like 50 wires and all this equipment, so people hardly sleep there. I'm like, I'm out, Anyway, so it does work. Verification.
I'll just say one thing about, not using spiritual language, even though we're very careful to avoid that. One of our students in this last class said, this is really the key to leading a spiritual life. I mean, she saw it even though we don't make it explicit. So, yeah.
Yeah, but we're not selling ourselves as gurus, right?
Right.
No.
But anyway, Vladimir, you were in the middle of something, so you can continue.
Oh, no, the same story. I wanted to kind of confirm with you that this pleasant going in and out, pleasant out also, is also an important part of the whole inner story, because nidra, if we translate it from Sanskrit, it is, dra is a movement actually, but ni is an inner movement. There is an inner story, inner energy, which is not tied to the outer. If it is tied to the outer, we are in the control of the situation, we are thinking of what is to happen, and we don't let ourselves kind of separate. We don't separate from the outer reality, so we are tied to something which is not letting us go inside into the inner story.
Right.
Even meditation could be very problematic in that sense, that you observe yourself as a witness, and then you cannot fall asleep anymore because you are totally always alert. You always see your thoughts, what is happening. And I remember I have been in this state for quite some time, and then I found the solution. I started to catch any thought, identify with it, and go with it wherever it leads you, because it's an inner energy, inner story is building up and leading you away from the outer connection.
But yeah, let me take that, because that fits in with this question someone asked about REM sleep. They said, how about REM sleep, which happens in half wakefulness? And I want to take, Vladimir, your beautiful linguistic unfolding of nidra, of something moving. So we tend to think of sleep as like, on or off. You're awake and sleep. And as you become more conscious in the transitions, you realize the entire night is a constant movement until there are moments, they say maybe 10 minutes, where you're in deep stage 3 sleep. And if you have ever been conscious of it, it's a state of profound stillness and quietude. But otherwise, the entire night, you're moving through realms of consciousness. Now, let me bring that to this question. This is a wonderful question. So REM sleep happens, deep sleep. Okay, I'm sorry, dream sleep. It can happen in deeper sleep, but the person asked in half wakefulness. So let me describe to you, this is really amazing. People are all excited about ayahuasca and psychedelics and all these amazing things. Do you know that every night, more than 8 billion people go through, very briefly, a period of extraordinary psychedelic wonder? Let me describe to you, and this is actually easier. Some people are interested in becoming conscious in their dreams. And a lot of people are trying to figure out, how do I teach that? Because people really want to learn that. This is actually much easier. This is REM sleep I'm going to describe REM sleep that happens in half wakefulness. Let's see what happens when you lie down and you successfully fall asleep. Your body becomes more and more relaxed. And as I described earlier with the music, you'll find the concrete sense of body and limbs and head and torso start to dissolve, much as they often do in a deep meditation. Your emotions related to the day will start to kind of soften. And this is interesting. When you become more conscious in stage 1 sleep, you'll notice almost a moment where your sort of normal waking control mode linear thoughts begin to take on a kind of loose, dreamy quality, much as Vladimir was describing. Now, if at the same time you pay attention to the play of light and dark behind your eyelids, you will notice, and this is very hard to do at first without falling asleep, that the lights begin to become more active. And this is not true of everyone, but at times, I imagine everyone's had this, but almost no one's conscious of it. The lights will start to take on kind of geometric forms and all kinds of different colors. And then dream images will start. Now, you will not be dreaming. You're not actually in REM sleep at this point. So this is not REM sleep. Okay. You're still in stage 1 on the verge of stage 2 sleep. Then the images, you may actually get to the point where you're still in stage 1 sleep. You're not, but you're literally seeing 3-dimensional dream characters walking around. And you may start hearing the sounds of people talking in the dream. Now, the next step, this is not for sleep, this is for dreaming, for conscious dreaming. If you just intend, and I'm not sure if anyone has any questions, this is something you get a feel for. You'll know it once you experience it, it's so clear. You intend yourself into the scene, and suddenly you're in a dream and you're conscious. And if you want to do it for secular reasons, you can play, you can surf, you can fly around the world. But if you are interested in a more yogic approach, you simply remain in that open conscious state, recognizing this is a dream, these are dream images. In some dreams, and by the way, for the questioner, this is now REM sleep. If someone's awake and they're looking at your eye movement patterns, you'll be having rapid eye movement. So you can actually let the dream proceed and allow it to dissolve. And you'll either come back into waking, or you begin to notice this sense, and this is almost impossible to describe in words, the sense of this ocean of alive, dynamic, brilliantly luminous energy, which is boundless. And this is wakefulness in deep sleep. And then slowly coming out of that, the practice that Mother and Sri Aurobindo talk about, as they encourage so much, quote, being conscious of our nights, is especially powerful because you learn more about your subconscious than about the collective subconscious. You become acquainted in certain dreams, which in Tibet they call them clear dreams, Jung called them big dreams, but Sri Aurobindo just described them as experiences. You're actually experiencing real, objective, other realms. You become acquainted with the Upanishads. Vladimir can remind me which one. Every night, we return to Brahman in our sleep. I'm not sure if it's Chandogya or another one, which I can't pronounce because of the BRI. But anyway, so you... Thank you, yes. And then when you wake up, if you've been conscious of the nights, your whole relationship, the experiential world, radically shifts, where you begin to realize, just as even in the other realms you visited in dreams, that all the forms you see are forms of consciousness. You begin to have at least a taste of the forms of the waking life also as formations of her energy, of Mother's energy. So I didn't think we'd get, how far we're going from simple how to get to sleep to yogic sleep, but they're so closely connected. This person's question about half waking on the verge of dreams takes us quickly to the deepest yogic realms. And as I said at the beginning, what's the secret? You can write it or write a quote. What's the secret of sleep? Letting go. What's the secret of meditation? Letting go. What's the secret of integral yoga? It's not a secret. Letting go. So we see these processes are so deeply intertwined. And you can go from doing CBTI and arranging your sleep schedule to the deepest spiritual realities. And it's very, very, very deeply connected or integrated. Yeah. Great question. Thank you so much. Are there any other questions? I think.
Yeah, I'd like to maybe just share a little bit about the experience I had during your music, and then also, while we have two experts here on sleep, to ask a personal question on my particular issue of sleep. What was interesting to me during the music is that I started to experience this rocking of energy, this rocking movement. And I noticed the body wasn't moving. This was all internal. And it was so soothing and so calming. And it made me think about, is this why we rock babies? To calm, to nurture. I'm not sure, but it was just a wonderful feeling that brought this sense of just peace and calm, even though the energy was moving, was rocking. So I wanted to share that, and certainly to thank both of you for such a wonderful webinar. So much. I've got tons of notes here, wonderful things that I've learned that I was unaware of. This idea of us staying in the control mode, most of the day and even into the night is really something that we should all be aware of. And so I appreciate that. I do want to ask you my personal question, if I could, as sleep experts. I have absolutely no problem falling asleep. Boom, 2 or 3 minutes out. Problem that I have is I toss and turn during the night, and when that wakes me up, the only way, and this is probably just through habit, that I can get back to sleep within a couple minutes is if I get up, go get something to drink, or eat a cracker or something, which you would think would keep you awake, but actually it puts me right back to sleep. And so I'm curious as to what you have found in your research about this sort of habit that at least I, and I assume others, get into.
Yeah. So a large percent of people, by the way, Kim, I see your wonderful question. I'll get to that in a moment. It's a great question. Yeah. So I would say the vast majority of people who come for sleep problems, they probably have some degree of problem getting to sleep. And that's usually cured pretty quickly, but almost everyone is lost when they get up 2 in the morning. Say you get to bed at 11, you aim to get up at 6, and it's 2 in the morning, you think, oh my God, 4 more hours, what do I do? Okay, so I'll tell you about the technique. Okay, so in 1971, psychologist Richard Bootson came up with this thing. I tell you, my colleagues, psychologists, have the least creativity with words. It's called stimulus control. What it means is everyone knows Pavlov, right, with the dog. He tortured this poor dog. He rings a bell as he feeds it, right? He's feeding it food. And then he decides, oh, the dog salivates. Maybe if I just remove the food and just ring the bell, will he salivate? The poor dog, you're ringing the bell, the dog's going, oh, great, food, food, food. Comes, there's no food. But as a psychologist, typically ignoring the poor animal and saying, this stimulus works. So what Richard Bootson realized was that people who have trouble with sleep are creating a negative stimulus, right? So the bed has become a nightmare. So a typical example they give, most people have had this experience. It's late night, you're kind of ready to go to sleep, but you want to watch one more video. You're watching the video, your eyes are closing, your head's bobbing, you can hardly stay awake. You think, perfect. Now I'm ready to get to sleep. Get undressed, get to bed, you're still exhausted, your head hits the pillow, and boom, you're wide awake. Because you have created a stimulus that your bed is the place where you struggled to make. So the rule is very simple. You wake up in the middle of the night and you're in bed for more than 15 or 20 minutes and you can't sleep, get out of bed. Now, I hate to get out of bed, so I'm happy to report you can sit up in bed. The idea is that you want to do something different what you're doing. Now, Rade said she gets something to drink and a cracker. That works for her. But I'm going to tell you some other things. Let me say this is the hardest thing we have with our students. You do not want to get things to do that will get you to sleep because that's control mode. What you want to do is do things you enjoy that are in the present. So for you, it probably, if you were saying, I'm going to read and study a chapter from Life Divine in book 2, part 1, the most complicated chapter on Brahman, Purusha, and Atman. I'm going to summarize it to have a discussion with Vladimir tomorrow. It's probably not the best thing to do to get you back to sleep, right? Okay. For you, getting up and having a drink, it probably takes you out of any worries about tomorrow. It brings you into experiential mode. You're having the cracker, it feels good. So it's not like a trick. It's not some, I got to get a cracker. If you're out of crackers, what I do? It's that this is an activity that brings you into experiential mode. One of our students, I love this. She said, she's like in her 30s, I guess, I love playing with Legos. Is that okay? I said, great. Don't do Legos in order to go to sleep. Play them like a 4-year-old child. Just enjoy it. And she said, it works. I said, don't say it works. You're still in control mode. Just say you enjoy it. So we invite people early in our course, get a repertoire. I like 61 points, but I've been doing it for years. You can read a book. One of our students loves reading fiction, but she gets caught up. I said, put a bookmark where you're going to end. So you sort of commit, like, I'm going to enjoy reading, 8 pages, then I'm going to put the book down. If you're still not tired, you can get up and do some slow qigong to our music or to whatever you like. You can, if going outside, I don't recommend it, but if going outside and doing jumping jacks that you enjoy, I don't recommend it. But what I'm saying is, to sum up, gymless control means you get up in bed or get out of bed, choose some relaxing activities that you do not do to get back to sleep, but you do to be in experiential mode and to let go, and then lie down. And that alone, by the way, without anything else, that has about a 30% total cure rate for insomnia, that alone. Add sleep scheduling, it's 50%. Add mindfulness, it's 70%. Add yoga nidra, we're getting towards 90%. Now,
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Kim has this wonderful question. Kim, I'm going to share this actually, part of this later today in our sharing session for the Darshan. And Kim asks, she says, science and spirituality are coming together at a rapid pace. This is true. How, in your opinion, do you see it, if at all this coming to fruition? Okay. I had an intuition. It just came to me asked for, unbidden. Yeah, that's good. 1970. I was 17, and it just came to me. I won't describe too long for the circumstances, but my work is going to, I was a musician full time. And it's like, my work is going to involve integration of psychology, science in general, and spirituality. I'm like, what? Like, who said that? It was about 20 years before I went into psychology and worked on it. And I noticed in the 1970s, you could barely in science even mention the word mind or consciousness. If you did, it was just some mechanical thing the brain did. In 1992, I met someone, a psychologist, at a Tibetan Buddhist dream yoga workshop. And I said to him, it's amazing. I've been at this for 20 years. And if you describe to me the progress in science and spirituality that's happened in 20 years and have told me in 1970, I would have said, that's not going to happen for 50 years. He turns to his wife and says, did you hear that? We were just saying that last night. Same thing, that things had happened so fast. Now, David Chalmers came out with his hard problem of consciousness, saying science does not begin to understand it in 1995. In around 2016, Bernardo Kastrup became the first really, really famous, like he's YouTube famous, and he's published articles in mainstream, very conservative science journals saying consciousness, you could almost quote Sri Aurobindo, consciousness is the fundamental thing in the universe. This is now in May, this would have been unheard of to get any acceptance even 20 years ago in 2004. I have noticed in just the last 8 years, in 2016, the Nobel Prize winner in physics in 2022, Anton Zellinger, said, we must remember, in science, we do not begin with the examination of the physical world. We begin with perception. Where does perception happen? Possibly the greatest theologian on the planet, David Bentley Hart, who is not only an Orthodox Christian, he calls himself a Vedantic Christian because he loves Vedanta so much. And I've written to him, he says, and he loves everything from Sri Aurobindo. He's coming out in a few weeks with a book quoting the Greek philosopher Thales. The title is All Things Are Full of Gods. He is, I think, far beyond Bernardo Kastrup, and I'll say his name again, David Bentley Hart. He's very challenging to read. This book coming out is in the form of a very playful Platonic dialogue, beautifully written. I've seen excerpts. And this is going to be an examination of philosophy of mind from the point of view of the basic fundamental theologies and philosophies around the world, and understanding how the world is not primarily a world of dead, meaningless, unintelligent, unconscious stuff. It's a world of consciousness. And I'll bring it back to our sleep courses that Jan and I are going to start writing about this full time next year. And we're thinking, and this is new, we just realized in the last year as we worked on the sleep course, that I've been talking to Bernardo Kastrup for years saying, you have to stop doing this only in abstract philosophic terms. You need experience. I've also had the good fortune to speak with Ian McGilchrist, who talks about the hemispheres and how we need to have less of control mode, which is the left hemisphere, and more experiential mode, which is the right hemisphere. And he hasn't done it, but he agrees we need to have experiential means of realizing this. So I would say everything we talked about today in the sleep course, we're going to be using and to develop practices to actually help assist all the people around the world who it's growing exponentially, Kim. It's just amazing. We want to offer as many experiential means we want to do with art, with animation, with music, with poetry. And we also want to do it in a way that the average 13-year-old of average intelligence who knows nothing of this could hear it and go, wow, I'm excited about Gen Z, right? Gen Z, we want Gen Z to as much as the millennials and the whatever the other generation is, the baby boomers, the greatest, everyone, east, west, north, south, can be in on this amazing, we're in this incredible period. And for the sake of Darshan Day, I've always felt it was the pressure of the supermental force on the world that's bringing about this rapid change. Ah, beautiful. Vishal just wrote supermental force in action. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Yes, thank you.
Yes, we have on our panel, thank you, on our panel, few people who actually even developed the conscious sleep course, that is Jayashri. And it was a very interesting kind of the whole, panorama of discussions and in relation to the integral yoga and in general to the Vedas, Vedanta vision of day and night and why we have these 2 day, we accumulate conscious kind of experience, efforts, mental kind of concentration, direction, discoveries, and then night comes. And in the night, we have to let go all that, to sink in, as it were, and to make some adjustments in the system in the meanwhile. And again, we wake up, again we gain the experience, and again we have to accumulate it, accommodate it within the system. So these kind of periods, day and night, are important, and we sleep nearly 1/3 of our, and if not the half of our lifetime. And that means that there is something going on there, and we would like to look into that part of the darker half of our life, because it's not dark actually, it's just we are not aware of it in our awakened state, but it is there, as we are not aware of our awakened state in the sleep state. And this is something interesting. If we bring these two halves into one conscious, uninterrupted movement of progress and growth, and we become aware of what is happening in the night, I think we will bridge that gap and become more conscious in every way. That was the idea of our conscious sleep course. Jayashri is with us. She may want to say something, or no?
Jayashri or Sharon, if there's something, comment or question, please do.
First of all, I'd like to thank Jan and Dawn for this excellent presentation. It was so simply and beautifully put. And I'm really looking forward to talking some more on that, discussing a few other areas when we personally meet.
Thank
For
you.
me, yeah, for me personally, what I was really impressed and moved with is the fact of dropping the story. That is such a crucial thing. We must learn how to drop the story. And that, thank you very much for dwelling at length about it and explaining what it really means. I'm going to look a little bit more into it and, explore it myself. I had one little question though, which is that there was a question with somebody who talked about going into sleep consciously. I have noticed that, even when I'm coming out of sleep, what is known as the hypnagogic state or hypnopompic, I'm not aware of those terms. But even when you're coming out, you can be so conscious because the dream images are still there. You're actually dreaming and you're awake both at the same time.
Mhm.
So, that is another aspect of the same thing, I think.
Yeah, thank you. It's a wonderful question. I love this topic. So yeah, the hypnagogic is when you're going to sleep, and hypnopompic, I love that. Just
Coming
pump,
up.
yes, you come out. So if you notice, by the way, Rade, this is something, if you keep track of your dreams and you start becoming more aware of your options in the middle of the night, towards the latter part of sleep, when we have more REM sleep. So if you go to bed at 11, it's 11, yeah. Around 4:30 or 5, if you're still asleep, you're going to have the most dreams. If you wake up, say around 4 or 4:30, this experience Jayashri just mentioned can be very vivid. So you're awake, and Mother and Sat Prem talk this, do not stir. Do not start your morning. We have such a tendency to bring our morning story into our mind, like, oh, it's 4:30, let go of that. And just like Jayashri said, you can almost see, right? You can almost see the dreams, you hear the people, and you realize at that moment. In fact, I've seen Tibetan Buddhist dream masters say they've learned from some of these new techniques, the lucid dream researchers. So one of the most popular techniques, it's called the mild, is the mnemonic inducement of lucid dreams. And what you do is, say you wake up and you just had a dream that you were, I'll make a nice one, you're walking through the gardens of the Macha Mandir. And just like you're lying there and you can see the gardens, and what you can do is you go to the kitchen, get your cracker, and do it very mindfully, very calmly. So you're just enjoying the moment. So you don't break the dream. And you see yourself almost walking to the kitchen and the gardens of the Macha Mandir around you. You come back into bed and you say, I'm going to go back to the mantra mandir, and this time I'll be aware that I'm dreaming. And this can, for some people, can work very, very fast. You suddenly find, oh, I mean, everyone here can imagine, oh, I'm here with these. And in the dream, the flowers will probably be speaking to you and radiant and luminous. So yes, if anyone becomes aware of the state that Jayashri mentioned, it's a wonderful opportunity to go back and go back consciously. Thank you, Jayashri. It's a wonderful experience.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sharon, your sound is still off? Yeah. Yeah.
Great. To continue the dream investigation, I've done a lot of dream work, and there's sometimes when I can actually be in the dream and start to understand the dream at the same time. So I'm in the dream, but I'm watching the dream. But there's other times when I wake myself up so that I can record the dream. And when I'm recording the dream, I realize that the dream is not done.
Right.
But when I go back to sleep, when I go back into sleep with the intention of continuing the dream, it seldom happens. Is there a way to encourage that?
Yeah, this is great. This goes back to my comment to Vladimir about how getting lost in the mind can be a way of being in control mode, or it may not. So to give a little background, so Jungians for decades have said conscious dreaming is terrible because you don't want the conscious ego in the dream. Now, in the language of today, what that means is many people, sometimes, and this may be happening inadvertently with you, Sharon, is we bring control mode into the dream. We bring control mode into wanting the dream to be a certain way. So the more you learn in daily life to shift, and again, it could be senses, there's other ways too, but just come to your senses personally. And I'll get back to the main point. I have found for years that sound, maybe because I'm a musician, stopping anywhere, especially if I'm tense or upset, I stop. I hear the air. I hear some birds outside, and the story is interrupted, etc. Now, in a dream or on the way to the dream, you can be into your dream body and dream colors, and the effort, the eagerness to try to understand the dream or get back into it can short circuit it. Whereas if I melt in experiential mode into the images of the mantra mandir, and I practice that, it takes practice. So say I practice for a month, and you can also, this sounds like control mode, I don't like the word, but program where you can have an aspiration to have a particular dream. And at night, as you're going to sleep, you see yourself in the dream. Then when you wake up in the middle of the night to record the dream, you see yourself going back. And generally speaking, if you do that for a few weeks consistently, you'll likely find more and more that either your subconscious or your psychic being or your deeper self will either lead you to that dream or lead you to the one you need. So the one that your conscious mind wants you to have may not be the one you need. So all of that, it's about letting go. But you can practice. You can practice. To sum up, the two things I would say most of all is during the day, and this is true for yoga, for everything. The more you can learn to shift into the right hemisphere, into experiential mode, you can use the left hemisphere, but now it's more integrated. And then the more at night, you can allow yourself to gently ask the mother to let you go back into the dream or the dream that you need. This is a whole surrender process that puts you more into. Does that make sense?
Yes, very much so. Thank you.
Yeah. Isn't this such fun stuff? It's such Jayashri, I know you've been interested in dreams and sleep for so many years. It's such a wonderful exploration and so many adventures. It's an adventure of consciousness and joy, potential. We tell our students, once you let go of your worry about sleep, you have a potential meditation retreat every night. 8 hours, no responsibilities, no concerns. I mean, let go of everything. And there's this this possibility of this incredible adventure. It's so amazing.
Well, if there's no other questions, we just really thank Jen, you and Don, and for sharing not only your research and your knowledge, but obviously also your experience and techniques. And I personally am really looking forward to your course that's coming out in the fall, and of course seeing you both tonight. But we thank you all. For those that are on, I got a couple questions about where they can find this recording. So it will be in our knowledge bank on our website. Just go to lagras.com and click on knowledge bank menu. And all the past recordings will also be there.
I'll send a special link to that Yoga Nidra we did too. So you can
Oh, perfect.
website. And did you want to give out our email so if people want to ask about?
Go right ahead.
It's info@remembertobe.life. So that's TO, remembertobe.life.
You put it into this, yes, chat.
Also in the chat box.
They're in the chat too, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me make sure it's everyone. I'm not sure if everyone can see that. Let me do it again.
Yeah, hosts and, oh yeah, you're right. You just did hosts and panelists.
.life. Yeah. And if you have any questions.
There we go. Perfect.
Okay.
Good. Thank you so much. See you in a little bit.
Thank you both.
Namaste.
See you in a few hours. Yeah. Bye.